Okay, hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the rest part of our morphology. So in the last class we have discussed your yes, very good morning. Okay, very good morning to everyone. So today, okay,
Hello everyone.
okay, sound is good. Okay, sound is okay now. Okay, okay. If the sound ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଆସିବ. Don't worry, Rakesh. Sound ଏବେ ଆସିବ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ନି sound ଏବେ clear ଆସିବ. Okay, very good morning. Okay, Ravi. Okay, let me check. Okay, every sound out to ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ. Let me clear. The sound is clear or not? Okay, now sound is okay or not? Hello everyone. I think now the sound is okay. Okay, let me start. So in the last class we have discussed your okay, thank you. So last class we have discussed your root part and the shoot part, and that is the introductory part that we have discussed. And when we see the detailed morphology of the root, we have to discuss the type of root, then the structure of the root and modification of the root. And basically in the last class we have discussed different zones of the root, that is having what in case of your root there is presence of 4 different zones. The first one, that is the zone of maturation, second the zone of elongation, and the third one that we have discussed your zone of meristematic cells, and another one the zone of root cap. This part that we have discussed in the last class. Okay, if anyone has not attended my class, please go to the YouTube, and in my channel that person is uploaded, so you can see that. And we have discussed all this part. Okay, so I think from this part we have to continue. That is the tab root. As you know that basically we divide the root into 2 types. One is your tab root and another one is the advantageous root. Okay, one is tab root, another one is the advantageous root. What is tab root? Let's start from this type of root. The first one, that is the tab root. Okay, so what is tab root? Tab root means the root, actually the root that arise from the root that arise from the radicle. The root that arises from the radicle is known as your tap root, or this tap root is also that is your primary root. This is the primary root that arises from the radicle. As you know that in the last class we have discussed your seed germination. In that seed germination, when we put a seed in a soil, then what will happen? There will be formation of 2 parts from that seed. One part that is called as your plumule, and another part that is called as your radicle. Okay, so when we put this seed in a water, or when we put this seed in a soil, then what will happen? The seed will give rise to 2 parts. One is your plumule part and another one is your radicle part. And basically what happened? This radicle give rise to root system, because this radicle is moving towards the gravity that we have discussed. This is moving towards the gravity and it is moving towards the light. Okay, the part that move towards the light, that is called as your plumule, and the part that move towards the gravity, that is called as what? That is called as your root. Okay, so basically the root is formed from the radicle, then that kind of root is called as your tab root. We have to remember, if the root is formed from the radicle, then that is called as your tab root, or this is the main root. But sometimes what happened? Root may develop from the different parts of the plant other than radicle. If the root is not developed from the radicle, but it can develop from the other parts of the plant, then that type of root is called as your advantageous root. What is advantageous root? The root that develop from different parts of plant, just like your that may develop from the stem, that may develop from the leaf. Okay, the root that develop from the different parts of the plant like stem or leaf, other than radicle means this is not from the radicle. If the root that develops from the different parts of the plant other than radicle, that is called as your advantageous root. This is not a true root. Actually, this root is developed from your stem or it may develop from the leaf. For example, you may imagine in case of your banyan tree, there is presence of aerial root. Suppose this is a banyan tree. Okay, the banyan tree have several branches. Suppose these are the branches of the banyan tree. You may see some root are also vertically downward. Some roots that develop from the branches and they are vertically downward to the soil surface. These roots, these are not the tap root. These are called as what? These are called as your advantageous root. These are called as what? Advantageous root. Because these are not developing from the radicle. These are developing from the different parts of the plant. One of the example I am giving here, that is, it may develop from the stem, then that is called as your advantageous root. Or another example, you may see the bryophyllum. In Odia, it is called as your Patargaja. Okay, in case of your bryophyllum, the root are also developed from the leaf margin. If you see, this is the leaf, and from the leaf margin there will be development of root. This is the root. It is developing from what? It is developing from the leaf. Then this is not a taproot. This is called as what? Advantageous root. What is advantageous root? The root that develop from the different parts of the plant, but not from the radicle. That is called as your advantageous root. I think you all clear about the difference between your taproot and advantageous root. Right? If you understand or not, in the chat box, please mention whether are you clear or not. Can you continue? Can we continue? Everyone is clear about this? Please write this in the chat box. What is taproot and what is advantageous root? If the root is developed from the radicle, then that is called as your taproot. And if the root is, okay, very good. Okay, if the root is not developed from the radicle, if it is developed from the different parts of the plant, then that will be called as your, okay, very good. Thank you, Rakesh. Then it will be called as your advantageous root. Okay, so this is the basic difference, that if the root is developing from the radicle, that is called as a taproot, or this is the main root. And if the root is not developing from the radicle, it is developed from your other parts of the plant, then that will be called as your advantageous root. Okay, so let's see what is the function of your taproot. Okay, what is the function? What is the function of your taproot? It mainly helps in the encourage and absorption of water. It helps in the encourage. It helps in the encourage and absorption of water. Okay, encourage means just it has to be it gives strength. Encourage means it gives strength to the plant to stand on soil. To stand on soil. Soil जदि देखमा soil रे जाबुड़ी के धरबार लगे help करूचे के, that is done by our root system. It provides strength to the plant to stay straight above the soil. Okay, to stay above the soil. It helps the plants to stand above the soil. So it gives very strength. It gives strength to the plant to stay straight on the soil surface, as well as it helps in the absorption of water. Means in the soil there is presence of water. In the soil there is presence of water, and that water is uptake by the taproot. That water is uptake by the taproot. Okay, so this is the function of our taproot. And let's see advantageous root. Let's see the advantageous root. Let's discuss more thing about the advantageous root. First of all, as you know that this is not developed. This is not developed from the radicle. Okay, it will develop from the different parts, just like it may develop from the stem, or it may develop from the nodes or internodes, or it may develop from the leaf. Okay, so the advantageous root is again of three types. The advantageous root is again of three types. It is divided into three types. Basically, we divide this advantageous root into three types. Okay, one of that is your fibrous root. One is your fibrous root. Another one that is called as your foliar root. The last one, simply we may write this as advantageous root. Okay, simply we write this as advantageous root. These are the three basic type of your advantageous root. What is fibrous root? What is fibrous root? If you see, in case of your some monocots, in case of your monocot or monocot plant, which are monocot plant, just for example, in case of your rice, the maize, rice means chaul, maize, okay, or in this rice, maize, these are the monocot plant. What happened there? If you see the rice plant, some of the cluster of roots, some cluster of root, suppose this is the tab root here. Okay, suppose this is the tab root. But in case of your rice plant, what happened? Let's see here. In case of your rice plant, as you know that this is suppose a rice plant. Suppose this is the rice plant. From the lowermost node of the stem, from the lowermost node of the stem, this is the node of the stem. As you know that if you see one stem, suppose this is the stem, these are the nodes. These are the nodes. In ODI, it is called as gonti. Okay, this is the node. This gap between the two nodes, that is called as your internode. This is called as your internode. What is internode? The gap between the two nodes, that is called as your internode. Okay, so what happened in case of your monocot plant? In case of your monocot plant, some of the root that develop from the lowermost node of the stem, this part, that is the stem, this part is the stem, and some of the root that develop from the lowermost node, and these roots that are actually fibrous, means very fine. These are very thin, fibrous. Okay, thin, fibrous means these are occurring in a cluster. These are occurring in cluster, means guchahikri present ache. It is present in cluster, guchahikri present ache. Okay, just see this. These are present in cluster or in groups. So these roots are not developed from the radicle, but these are developed from the lowermost node of the stem. This fibrous root developed from lowermost node of stem. Okay, and these are very thin, fibrous, and these are occurring in a cluster. Okay, this kind of root are called as your fibrous root. These are not the normal tab root. Okay, but these are your advantageous root. And if you see the advantageous root, if you see the advantageous root, these are developing from the lowermost node of the stem. It is developed from the stem. But in case of this monocot plant, what happened to this what happened to this tab root? This is the tab root. Actually, for the first time, when suppose this is the seed of the rice, for the first time when the rice plant that grow, at that time, first of all, the radicle is formed, but later on, what happened? This from this lowermost part, there will be development of your root. From this lowermost part, there will be development of root in a cluster. These are your fibrous root. And later on, what happened? After few days, this radicle which has to give rise to the taproot, that part will disappear or that part will destroy. This part is destroy. Means এই পার্টটা কানা হচ্ছে তার যেন ট্যাপরুটটা আছে ট্যাপরুটটা কানা হচ্ছে destroy হয়ে যাচ্ছে and rest আমার খালি তার রয়ে যাচ্ছে কানা fibrous root খালি রয়ে যাচ্ছে. Here in case of your fibrous root, first of all, in case of your monocot plant, first of all, what happened? The radicle is formed, but radicle after few days, the radicle that get destroyed, and rest of the part or the rest of the roots which are present here, these are not developed from the radicle, but these are developing from your lowermost node of the stem, and they are present in a cluster that is called as your fibrous roots. Okay, so fibrous root that is found in case of your monocotyledon plant, for example, in case of the rice, in case of the maize, in case of the wheat, these are the example where we can find the fibrous roots. Okay, let's see the next category, that is the foliar roots. Foliar root means if the root develop from the leaf, then that is called as your foliar root. Roots develop from the leaf, that is called as foliar root. We have to remember that the leaf may also develop the root, then that kind of root will be called as your foliar root. Okay, or it may develop from the root may develop from the leaf margin. Root may develop from leaf margin. What is leaf margin? We have to discuss. Or may develop from leaf petiole. What is that petiole? Okay, it may develop, the root may develop from the leaf margin, or okay, let me write here, leaf margin. It may develop from the leaf margin, or it may develop from the petiole of the leaf. Okay, suppose let me show one of the examples, that is in case of your bryophyllum in Odia, that is called your Patargaza. Okay, so let's see one of the example, that is in case of your Patargaza. Suppose one of the example for this foliar root. Suppose this is let me show you one of the example structure of the leaf. Let's see the structure of the leaf. Suppose this is the leaf. Suppose this is the leaf. Then what are the different parts of the leaf? Suppose this is the leaf. This part, this edge or jantar dhar present ache, leaf present dhar present ache, this is called as your leaf margin. This is called as leaf margin. Okay, and this is the stalk of the leaf, that is called as petiole. That is called as your petiole. So the root may develop from the leaf margin, or it may develop from the petiole. Suppose this is the leaf margin. The root may develop from the leaf margin, and this is in case of your Patargaza. In case of your Patargaza, the leaf margin that develop the root system here. Okay, so the root may develop from the leaf margin, or it may develop from the leaf petiole. It may develop from the petiole in case of your rubber plant. Okay, one of the example, let me write here example for this foliar root. In case of your bryophyllum, the bryophyllum, this is in your note copy, just write down the Odia name for the bryophyllum, that is Patargaja, and another example, that is rubber plant. In case of your rubber plant, in case of your bryophyllum, the root develop from the, just wait a minute. Okay, let's continue. The bryophyllum, here, in case of your bryophyllum, suppose this is the bryophyllum, the root is developed from your leaf margin. The root that developed from the leaf margin. Okay. And in case of your rubber plant, in case of your rubber plant, suppose this is the rubber plant, this is having the leaf. In case of your rubber plant, the root is developing from the petiole. The root is developing from the petiole. So this is the petiole. That petiole is also the part of your leaf. The petiole is also the part of our leaf. So it is not the taproot, it is the advantageous root. So simply we have to remember, okay, simply we have to remember foliar root. Foliar root means the root that develop from the leaf is called as foliar root. It may develop from the leaf margin, it may develop from the leaf margin, or it may develop from the petiole of the root in some cases. Okay, one of the example, that is your bryophyllum in Odia, that is called as your Patargaja. In Patargaja, it is developing from what? It is developing from the leaf margin, and in case of the rubber plant, it is developing from the petiole of the leaf. Okay. Another one that was left here, that is your advantageous root. Simply advantageous root. In case of your normal advantageous root, the root that may develop from the nodes or internodes of the stem. Okay, the root that develop from the nodes and internodes of the stem, that is called as your advantageous root. Simply the root that develops from nodes and internodes of the stem. Okay, that is called as your advantageous root. Suppose, for example, in case of your sugar cane, let me show you the sugar cane. In case of your sugar cane, the root is developing from the nodes. Sugar cane kenta akugos, kusir. In case of your sugar cane, for example, let me show you that example of that advantageous root. In case of your sugar cane, in case of your sugar cane, that is your aku. Suppose this is the sugar cane. This is having the nodes, okay, and you may see in the nodes there is presence of roots. In the nodes there is presence of roots. So in the sugar cane, what happened? The root develops from the nodes of the stem. The nodes of the stem. Okay, or in case of your rose plant, root cutting of rose plant, root cutting of rose plant. Basically we know that what happened. Basically हमें क्या करसो गोटे जदि rose plant के grow करावार अच्छे, then what we have to do, we have to just cut a stem. गोटे rose plant के जदि grow करावार थे हमें क्या करसो just का कर सकते हैं नहीं ऐसो just cut कर दे सकते हैं and here there is presence of your rose flower suppose and this stem is cut and it has to be grow on the soil. Just we have to grow this on the soil. Then after some times what will happen from this uh, stem there will be development of the root. So root cutting of the root rose plant, what happened here, the root is developed from the stem. Root is developed from stem. ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ stem के काटे नौछु ଗୋଟେ डाहीटा के काटे नौछु एंड सेता के जाय करी जेतेले ग्रो करोछु इन द सॉइल सेतर से डाही जे नछे से डाही रु काना बाहरछे सेता डाही रु रूट रो development होचे. So that dye is not your radicle because as this is the part of your stem, here the root is also developed from the stem in case of your rose in case of the rose plant as well as ame jetebele mandar gach ke भी गोटे grow कराबा लागि चाहसु गोटे डाही टिक आने के just grow करे देसु. So in case of your China rose, in case of your China rose, that is one example. In case of your China rose, or in case of your banyan tree, okay. In case of your banyan tree, suppose this is the banyan tree. These are the branches of the banyan tree. The roots are developing from the stem and these are moving downward. This kind of roots that are moving downwards and that are growing vertically. Vertically means in the straight grow origin. So these are your roots that may develop from the stem. So this kind of root that is also a kind of your advantageous root, and this root that develop in the banyan tree that is called as your prop root. This is called as what? Prop root. The prop root is developed from the stem, okay, and it is vertically downward. It is vertically downward. If it is vertically downward and it gives strength to the plant. What happened? If as you know that the banyan tree that is very large tree, okay, it requires so much strength. So for the strength or so for the mechanical support, these roots are growing vertically downward and they are also giving the strength to the or they will give the support to the plant. Okay, so these are the different kinds of your root that we have discussed here. So first of all, we have discussed your taproot. That root developed from the radicle is your taproot, and another one, the root that developed from the different parts of the plant, just like your, it may develop from the lowermost node of the stem, or it may develop from the different parts of the stem, like nodes, internodes, or it may develop from the leaf. So on the basis of that, the advantageous root is divided to three types. One is your foliar root, if it is developing from the leaf. If it is developing from the lowermost node of the stem, then that is called as your fibrous root. Okay, and another one, if it is developing from just wait a minute. Okay. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Another one, that is if it is developing from the different parts of the stem, then that is your advantageous root. Okay, so let's see the modification of roots. Another one, that is the modification of roots. Modification of root means what? Root is doing some other function to modify. Okay, root is going to modify itself and it performs some special function besides their normal function. Okay, so let me write what is modification. Root may be modified. Root may be modified to different shapes, modified to different shapes in order to perform different spatial functions, okay, in order to perform different spatial functions besides their normal function, major normal function ke chhadi kari, they are doing some other functions. And as you know that the normal function of the root is the anchorage. Plant ke jabudi ke dharban lagi soil re help koruche, that is the anchorage. And another one, that is the absorption of water. Okay, so out of this function, if root is performing some other functions, then that will be your modification of root. Okay, so root is modified to perform different functions. Okay, so it has to take some different shapes. To perform the different special function beside their normal function. Their normal function which is anchorage and absorption of water. It may develop to form, or it may modify to go for the different functions. Okay, so let's see here. As you know that there is two kind of your root system. One is your tap root. Then if the tap root is modified, then that is called as your tap root modification. Okay, the root modification is divided into two types. The root modification, it is divided into two types. One is your taproot modification. And another one, that is advantageous root modification. Okay, taproot modification kahe kuchu jodi taproot ro modification hala. If the taproot get modified, then that is called as your taproot modification. If the advantageous root is modified, then that is called as your advantageous root modification. So there is two kinds of root modification. One is your taproot modification, and another one is your advantageous root modification. Okay, so let's start the taproot modification. Let's come to the taproot modification. Okay, so let me start this here. Let's see the taproot modification. Okay, sometimes the taproot modified for storage of food, basically for the storage of food, there is your root is not involved in the storage of the food. Okay, basically the root is not involved in the storage of food, but in some cases the root is modified to store the food, and on the basis of the storage of food, the taproot modification is of three types. Basically we are dividing the taproot modification into three types. Basically another one we have to discuss, extra one also there. So let me make this here. Four types. Let me make this four types. Okay, taproot modification means for the storage of food, the root is modified into for the storage of food, the root is divided to different shapes. That is called as your taproot modification. So one is your napiform modification. One is your napiform. Next one is your fusiform modification. Fusiform. Then another one that is the conical, and another one that is the tuberous. Okay. For the storage of food, the root has to store the food. Then it has to modify it into different shapes. One of the shape that is the napiform shape. Next one fusiform, conical, and tuberous. In case of your napiform, the napiform that is found in case of your beet, the napiform modification that is found in case of your beet. Beet means just your in your slide we are using the beet. That beet is modified here. The beet that is the root actually, but here it is modified in such a way that the upper region is swollen, okay, and almost the middle part is your spherical, and the lowermost part that become tapering here. In the napiform, what happened? If you see the upper region that is considerably that is very swollen, the middle part is slightly it is the middle part. This is the swollen part, and the middle part that is spherical, and the lowermost part that is become tapering. Okay, so this kind of root, this is mean for the storage of food. This is mean for okay, sorry, I think some problem in my connectivity. Okay, I have lost that part. So let's see. Again, first of all, let's discuss about the napiform. Sorry for the disturbance. Taproot modification that I have to complete here. First one that we are discussing, that is the napiform. The second one that is the fusiform. The third one that is the conical, and the fourth one that is the tuberous. Okay, 4 different modification of your taproot. So in case of your napiform, what happened here? The root is broader, or the root is slightly it is very swollen at the upper part, but slightly it is tapering at the lowermost part. Okay, so this is seen in case of your beta vulgaris or in case of your beet. This is napiform shape. This is according to the different shapes that taken by your root for their modification. So here the upper region is swollen, okay, and lower region is tapering. It is tapering at the lower region. Okay, so for example, in case of your beet, this is found in case of your beet, or the biological name of the beet, that is the beta vulgaris. Okay, but in case of your fusiform, here the primary root or the tab root that is swollen at the middle part. Okay, let's see in case of your fusiform. Just imagine your radish means mula. In case of your radish, example, this is in case of your radish. Okay, and what is the biological name of the radish? Anytime we have to remember the biological name also. That is Raphanus sativus. Raphanus sativus. That is the biological name of your radish. Here, what happened? This end is slightly tapering at the end. Tapering end. This is also tapering end. But this end is more tapering as compared to this end. And this end that is swollen. Okay. So here, both the ends, the middle part is the swollen part, and on both the ends that are gradually tapering, that is your fusiform shape, and this is found in case of your radish. In case of your conical, it is broader at the base and gradually tapering towards the apex. It is broader at the upper part. It is broader at the upper part and it gradually tapering at this apex. So this is broader part at upper part, and it is tapering at lower part. Okay, and here there will be root system. Okay, so this is seen in case of your gajar. In Odia, that is called as your gajar, but it is called as your carrot. In English, that is called as your carrot. Or the biological name for the carrot, that is Daucus carota. That is Daucus carota. Okay. But what happens in case of your tuberous type? In case of your tuberous type, it will not take any kind of shape, so that it is not having any kind of shapes. So it is just taking this kind of shapes. Okay. So it is not having a definite shape. But here in case of your napiform, the upper part, that is broader part, the lower part is tapering part. Here both the ends have tapering end, but the middle part, that is the swollen. In case of your conical, the upper part is very broader part and the lower part, that is very tapering part. Okay, and gradually it is decreasing its breadth or decreasing its diameter. Okay, and in case of your tuberous, there is no definite shape. Here there is no definite shape. Okay, and this is found in case of your one of the example, that is 4 o'clock plant. Example for the tuberous, that is 4 o'clock plant. Okay, this is 4 o'clock plant, and the biological name for this 4 o'clock plant is Mirabilis jalapa. Mirabilis jalapa. Mirabilis jalapa, that is the 4 o'clock plant, where you can see this kind of root where there is no definite shape. There is no definite shape. It is not taking any kind of shape. This is your Mirabilis jalapa. Okay. So you may see your beta vulgaris. It is just very dark in color. The beta vulgaris, it is very dark in color. Okay. And there is also presence of this leafy part. And this is the radish that is just looking like your white color. You may find this. So here these structures are actually meant for the storage of the food. We are eating this part. Why? Because there is presence of your food. Okay, that's why we are eating these parts. And if you see the This is the gajar or this is the carrot. This is just looking orange red color. So that I am giving this color to this. Okay, and this one that is slightly white color that I'm making. Okay, so these are the different kinds of your taproot modification, and they are taking different shapes for the storage of food. Okay, so one is your napiform, fusiform, conical, or tuberous, and we have discussed some of the example here also. Okay, some of the example that I have discussed also here. So remember this example, remember the different shapes. Okay, this is the very important question. Okay, let's discuss the advantageous root modification. Let's discuss about the advantageous root modification. What is advantageous root modification? If the advantageous root is modified for the storage of food or for the mechanical support or for the sucking the nutrition from the plant. So I am dividing this advantageous root into different groups. So for the storage of food, for storage of food, then for mechanical support, then for another one that is your sucking root, we have to discuss here. Another one that is your sucking root. Okay, so for the storage of food, we can discuss one is your tuberous root, and another one that we have to discuss that is fasciculated root. Fasciculated root. As you know that tuberous root means it is not taking any kind of definite shape. That is your tuberous root. So one of the example, as this is common your advantageous root means it is not developed from the radicle. It may develop from the different parts. Suppose one of the example in case of your sweet potato. In case of your sweet potato. In the sweet potato, suppose this is the sweet potato. I am making the normal structure. Suppose this is the ground surface, and these are the stem of the sweet potato, and these are the supposed leaves. What happened? From this stem, there will be development of root. From this stem, there will be development of root, and these roots are not taking any shape, but they are modified. Sorry, they are not taking any definite shapes. These are modified for the storage of food. Okay, that is your sweet potato. In Odia, this sweet potato is called as your konda. Okay, so this kanda is actually root. This sweet potato is actually root, but this is not the tap root, but this is developed from the node of the stem. As this is developed from the node of the stem, and it is growing inside the soil. This is your advantageous root. Okay, and what is the biological name for the sweet potato? That is Ipomia batata. That is your Ipomia batatas. Okay, in case of your Ipomia batatas, there is presence of your advantageous root, and that advantageous root is developed from the stem. This is the stem. Okay, here the stem that develop the root, and the root gets swell and it modified into irregular shape for the storage of food. But in case of your fasciculated root, what happened? Fasciculated means in group. Fasciculated means group. In some of the example, for example, in case of your Shatavari plant, that is your asparagus. In case of your asparagus, in Odia, that is called as your Shatavari. Suppose this is the asparagus plant. This is the shoot system. The root, some of the root that develop from the lowermost stem, some of the root that develop from the lowermost stem or lowermost node of the stem that develop a cluster of root, and that root are modified into small structures. The roots are modified into small structures and that are occurring in a cluster. So this is called as your fasciculated root. Okay, here the root develop from the base of the stem and that are growing in a cluster. And if you see them, they are meant for the storage of the food, so that they are modified into a larger shape as compared to a normal root. It is modified into a broader shape. So this is your fasciculated root. Then if it is for the mechanical support, one of the example, that is in case of your banyan tree. In case of your banyan tree, right? Here the root is developed from the branches. Okay, and this is your root. And it gives mechanical strength to the banyan tree. So this kind of root which are giving the mechanical strength, this kind of root is called as your prop root. This is called as your prop root. Okay, and this prop root that develop vertically downward. Okay, so stem gives aerial root system. Okay, and they are vertically downward, and reach to the soil, to give extra mechanical support. Again, they are entering inside the soil. So that this kind of root, that is called as your prop root, and these prop root are giving the mechanical support for the plant. Mechanical support means it has to be stay straight on the ground surface, so that it has to take some help from the other, and it take the help from the prop roots that develop from the stem. It is growing downward towards the soil. Then another one, that is the soaking roots. Soaking means what? Sock means absorb. Sock means absorb. किछि optic करवाटा or optic. किछि gain करवाटा की कहूँ जो मैं sock वाली की कहूँ. So here some of the plants, just like your oscuta. Suppose this is the plant body. Okay, in case of your some of the plants, some plants that possess oscuta, these are the suppose oscuta. Okay, so these plants are growing just connected with these plants. Okay, so this green part, that is a oscuta. This is in Odia, that is called as your nirmuli. Okay, so this oscuta plant is grow over the other plant. Okay, and this oscuta, let me show you very closely. If you see, let's see here. Suppose this is the supportive plant, or this is the host plant. This is called as your host plant. The oscuta absorbs the nutrition from the host plant. The oscuta plant, it absorbs the nutrition. Suppose this is the oscuta plant. Okay, it is growing just over this plant. It will form some amount, some root, that root enter inside the host plant. This is the host plant, and this oscuta develops some root here. Okay, and that root enter inside the host plant, and from the host plant it uptake the nutrition. From the host plant it uptake the nutrition, and this kind of root which are just arising from the stem of the oscuta plant, and it is helping in the uptaking of your nutrition. That is called as your hostoria. That is called as your hostoria. So it helps the Cuscuta plant to uptake the nutrition from the nutrition as well as water from the host plant. That is called as your sucking root, or that is your hostoria. So sucking root means it is the root that develops from the stem, and that stem is the stem of another plant. Okay, it is just coiling around the host plant. Gote plant re dekre agote plant kana korche gurei ture hoche, and naturally gurei hoche se kichi root bahar karaba, se root dekri ka karba, se plant ru kichi se water या फिर nutrition gain करबा. So nutrition gain करबार लगी some of the root are developing from the stem, that is called as your sucking roots. Okay, so these are the different kind of your modification of your advantageous root. In the next class we will start from the stem. This is all about the root system, and we have discussed your different kind of root as well as different modification of the root in this class. In the next class we will start from the next part, that is stem. Okay, and there we have to discuss about the different kinds of stem. Okay, and different modification of the stem also we have to discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you.